Hi, I think we're live. I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. Last time we had some troubles. I think now we don't have them. So let's start. You're welcome to ask any questions you have. I'm going to try to answer them one by one, and we will do it in English for two main reasons. Well, actually, yeah, for two main reasons. The reason number one is that I want to have more English speaking people on this YouTube channel. The reason number two is that I want you who speak Russian to learn English together with me. So get used to my accent and let's try to continue in English. The first question: when is going to be a meetup in Moscow, which we organized it before, and some people miss it. We are, as I said last time, we're looking for speakers. So if you are interested to speak about object-oriented programming, if you know something about object-oriented programming, if you have your own framework, for example, or if you have your opinion about how object-oriented programming should be designed in the right way, then you're welcome to text me and we will help you to go on stage. We will help you to prepare the presentation. We'll get you there. As soon as we have somebody, we'll organize it. We don't want to organize it just for the sake of organizing. We want to deliver you some content which is unique, and that's why we're waiting for speakers. We have the budget, we have the place, we have the media, everything is prepared for you to go there and speak. Next question: what is your favorite anti-pattern in running your business? You're talking not about software development pattern, you're talking about management anti-pattern. I think it is the most painful anti-pattern for me is people who are getting money without delivering the results. And this is what most businesses suffer from, and this is what most management setups they suffer from. So you have people who promise you to do something, and you expect them to do something, and you expect certain quality from them, and then you pay them anyway. You pay them just by the end of the month or by the end of the week, or even you pay them upfront. And then you have no instruments to manage them. You have no possibility to actually guarantee that they deliver something back to you. And that's very frustrating. You can't do nothing. You feel yourself, I feel myself as a total helpless and powerless person who just I get very frustrated because of that. So every time I do business or some management, I try to understand what kind of deal I have with the people who I manage. So what do they give to me? So I give them something back. It has to be some trade between us. So they deliver, I deliver back. When you just pay them no matter what, when you, like most of you, I think, are working like that. Most of you are getting salaries by the end of the month, including myself. And only some of you, only maybe 20% or even less, just small group of people will actually be honestly delivering the results, even though the money are coming to their bank accounts no matter what. These people exist. I know them. They exist. I believe there are many of them. Like there are some of them, but many, I can say many. Most people are not like that. And when you have a team, then 8 people out of 10 will be actually the people who are lazy. Then it's an anti-pattern in management, I believe. So try, my recommendation to you, try to set up the way that is every time you manage somebody, there are transactions, there are deals. So you give them something, they give you something back. And it's always a deal which you close as frequently as possible. It shouldn't be the deal which you close once a year. It should be the deal you close every few days. Every few days you close the transaction. They give you something, you give something back. In this case, you get manageability. Next question. You said you don't drink alcohol. How do you deal with social gathering where everyone around you drinks alcohol? I have no problem with that. Just drink orange juice. Do you want to have a wife and kids, or are you going to be a good programmer? Well, actually, there are these two goals. They don't contradict. A wife, kids, the family, and being a good programmer. Usually, they don't contradict. Actually, I was married for 8 years, so I know how to be married. I know how to have a family, but I know that it takes some effort. It takes some emotion, some energy, some power, which you not the power, but a lot of emotions, a lot of stress you need to be prepared for if you want to actually combine your professional objectives and your responsibilities as a family man, as a husband, for example, as a father. And if you have this power, if your spouse, if your wife, in my case, is ready to understand to understand your priorities, I believe. I think I'm saying obvious things now, but if the second person you have, she understands that you are interested to be professionally, that you're professionally ambitious, then that's you're lucky that to get that kind of a partner. So I think that there shouldn't be a contradiction, but usually there is. Usually family and professional ambitions, they cannot go along because of many reasons. And that's why I'm not 100% sure right now. I'm ready to sacrifice my professional objectives in favor of uh, family goals. How do I transition from a senior software engineer to an architect? So we assume that the person who asked the question believes that the senior software engineer goes first and then the architect is the next level. So the transition, I think, in the career transitions, the movement from one level to another, um, there are actually two careers you may have. The one career is the administrative levels, which you jump one after another, and you become more powerful in the management hierarchy. Like you become first you're the programmer, and then you become a team lead, and then you become a leader of a larger group, maybe a department, and then you become a leader of a group of departments, and then you become a CTO or vice president, and then you become a CTO, and then you become a CEO, and then you become maybe a manager of a group of companies. This is how you grow in one career ladder. Being an administrator, being a person who manages other people, being a person who is responsible for other people, not actually managing them, because now in current organizations, in modern organizations, nobody manages anybody. It's just, especially in IT. I'm not talking about organizations in construction, maybe in medicine, in logistics. I never worked there, so I believe there they actually manage people. But in IT, nobody manages us. We just exist, and we somehow magically we just work and we do something because we know how to do it. So management doesn't is not the right word there. But being responsible for the group of people. This is what these managers, these administrators, that's what they do. They being responsible for the people, and they're being responsible for the mistakes the people make. So they take the stress, they take the responsibility for failures. So they are the people who higher levels may fire if something goes wrong, and these people are scared of that because their salaries are so big, so they're scared of being fired. And in order to not being fired in case of failure, they are trying to reduce risks, they're trying to prevent risks. This is how the whole thing is being managed. So that's one ladder. How to grow in this ladder, you just that's a long story, and I think I mentioned the book about. It's called uh, Life of Red or something like this, or How to Be a Rat. If you ask me, I'll send you the link. So the book is quite interesting. It explains how you grow, how you move up in these ladders. So basically, the simple bottom line of this is you find the person to betray. If you find the person to fail, you find somebody who potentially can make a mistake, and you play with this mistake. Maybe you can even provoke this mistake. So your direction up will always depend on a failure made by somebody who's already up there. You need to find a way how to do it. You need to find a way how to basically kill that person on top of you so that you move up. It's pretty dirty work, and I'm not really an expert in this particular uh, a part of the business. There's another ladder, which is technical ladder, where you move from a programmer to a software engineer to a senior software engineer. Then you go to an architect. Then you become maybe a famous software architect. Then you become a leader in some technical direction. Then you become maybe IEEE fellow. Maybe you become ACM fellow. Maybe you become a Google fellow, something like this. So you don't become responsible for people. You may be a Google fellow or Microsoft fellow, and basically 3 people will be responsible to you. Will be just in your group, 3, 4 people, something like that. But you will be getting $1 million paycheck every year. So you will be getting a lot of money for pretty safe and stressless job. You will be technically very competent. You will be one of the few people in the world who are so competent that the large companies, they will hire these people. So if you want to go in this direction and this career moving up, then I think you should be focusing on making things that nobody else can make in this world. And what are these things? It depends on your particular domain. Maybe some open source product. This is definitely one step, one direction which you can decide to move through. Like, I make some open source product which is as popular as Docker, for example, or as a Spring framework or something like that, which everybody will use because I spend so much time, I pay so much attention to it, I develop it so beautifully. Then I spend like 5 years on developing some framework for JavaScript or whatever. Then the whole world will start appreciating that, and you will definitely become an architect in some company, and you will get quite a lot of money without being responsible for failures, without being in this relationship of betrayal, which I just explained you on the previous letter. So think about what exactly you make. What is your product? Not who you are, but what is your product? Who you are is less important. What do you make? What do you represent? What kind of product or technology or idea or maybe some scientific publications, work, research, some research direction? So what is it that you control? What is it that you make? That will help you to go up in this moving from the senior engineer to the architect. When you will be in, even if you if even okay, if you don't want to be a Google fellow, if you're not so ambitious, but even within the company where you work, you want to move to one level up, you can do it by making something that is in your hands, and that is a so you become an owner of something. Even though I don't like that, if I would be the manager of an organization, I would try to prevent people becoming owners of technology. But smart people, they will grow to the level where they know a lot about some specific product or part of the product, something like this. And this will help you. So don't be just a programmer who just writes code when it's required. Just find your niche, find something which is yours, and make it your product. Make yourself very happy and proud about this product. That will make your career, in my opinion, that will help your career to grow. Next question. What do I think about embedded development? Are there any perspectives? Is it interesting to develop as an expert in this direction, embedded development? To be honest, I started as an embedded developer a long time ago. I was writing code for microcontrollers, for something that was long, 30 years ago. When I was a student. Then I was interested in this micro devices, where you write something for microchips, not for powerful chips as we have now, but for micro, where you have basically 8 bits as an address space, something like this. Is it the future now? I don't think it is, in my opinion. I don't think this is the direction to develop, because it's very niche, and the problems there, as far as I understand, are mostly solved. And we are now in the era of large computing, of large devices, of large servers, of huge data, of large amounts of data. So these micro devices, I think they will be designed and developed way faster than before, and most of the problems, I think, they're solved over the last 30 years. But don't take my words seriously. I'm not an expert. I even wasn't an expert 30 years ago, but now I'm definitely not the one. Next one. How do you find how to find a fine woman for a fine programmer? I'm not an expert in this area for sure. Um, well, programmers, they're supposed to date online, I think. So that's why we have applications developed by programmers. So the programmers, they use those applications, and they find women or they find men. That's how we match. So I don't know what you mean by fine woman. If you mean a decent woman who has proper moral standards, and who has proper education and proper behavior, then you just you look for a programmer. That's a good advice. So I think programmers are the more or less, it's supposed to be, programmers are supposed to be the elite group of people who are, in order to become a programmer, you at least need to go through higher education. You at least need to know how to use a library. You need to use books. You need to know how to write a diploma work. So if you pass through all these steps, then you become fine person. You become a decent person. This is what basically higher education is for, mostly, in order to turn you from a hooligan who just ready to do whatever you want as a kid, but then you go through a high education, and then they turn you from a bandit who most of us are when we're kids, because we basically we're trying to push the world to its limits, and that's why we don't care about laws, we don't care about manners, we don't care about many things. And then the steps of education, as far as I understand, they just move us through certain levels of control, certain levels of discipline. They just remove the things from our behavior which are not acceptable, which are not honorable, which are not respected by other people. And then when you have a person who has higher education and you have a person who doesn't have higher education, usually they're two different people. They have different standards of their life. So just look for a programmer who has a PhD. Then you will definitely find a woman you're looking for. What's the difference between middle level developers and senior level developers? Um, I think I have an article about this on the blog where I say that the higher the level of developer, in my opinion, is the stronger resentment towards low quality. So when you're a junior developer, you don't even yet know what is high quality of code, what is high quality of DevOps, what is high quality of design. You don't have this knowledge yet, and you don't have the experience of seeing bad quality and seeing the consequences. So that's who you are, the junior developer, like that guy from like a kid, like in the previous answer. So you just do whatever you want, and it feels okay for you. When you become a senior developer or middle level developer, then you already have the experience and knowledge about what will happen if we design the code like this. So you pay attention. You pay more and more attention. And when you're a senior level developer, you're very cautious. You're very negative towards people who develop low quality software, towards the code which looks low quality. So you become very on alert. You're very nervous when you see bad code. You're very you get frustrated very easily when you see bad code. So you pay attention to details which you don't care about when you are a junior developer. So in order to move from middle level developer to higher level, senior level, just focus on quality. And I always suggest, try to use static analyzers, try to use style checkers in your code bases. You have a code base, take some style checker, take some static analyzer, run it through your code base, and let this tool tell you where you're wrong. That's how you will learn what's wrong with the details. That's how you will pay attention to details. That's the best way. The books, they will not help you as much. The code review, they will not help you as much. The best way is to write a lot of code and to listen to what the analyzers tell you. That's how you become senior developer. Just always pay attention to details. This is where the devil is. It's in the way you understand, you feel about the code, the feel about the design, the architectures, where when they draw the design and there's a line which connects this rectangle with this one, but the line is not dashed, the line is solid, and you see it. And you say, hey guys, there's something wrong with your diagram. The line should be solid. And the junior developers, they will tell you, yeah, why do you care? It's okay, let's make it solid. But you do care. You just say, no, 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 no. It's not like that. We pay attention. We draw it the right way. That's the senior developer. Again, in my opinion. Next question. How do I learn programming in the correct way? Will I be able to understand DSA with my weakness in mathematics? I don't know what is DSA, to be honest, but your weakness in mathematics. Well, I have this story which I tell. I tell it very often. I have a friend who is a very good programmer, like really good programmer. He wrote a lot of code, and he told me once. That was a few years ago. He told me that I go to the interview. He tried to get a job some years ago, many years ago, and they asked me on the interview, "What is 2 power 8?" And he told me, like, how do I know? What kind of question is that? I don't know what is 2 power 8. Why do we ask? Why do they ask me that? Every programmer, it seems to me, every programmer must know that, because 2 power 8, that's 256, right? But he didn't know. So we can say that his education in programming, his background education in programming is extremely low. He doesn't know the basics, but at the same time, he can write code, and a lot of code, and the code works. So as a programmer, he's very effective. So for you, how do I learn programming the correct way? You will learn it the correct way without mathematics. Programming, in my opinion, it's not about mathematics. In my opinion, it's not about knowing the how to calculate the root of a square equation. You don't need to know that in most cases. In 99% of your code, you will not solve any mathematical problems. You will not even know what is Boolean algebra. In most cases, you don't need that. You need something else. You need to be more like a uh, you need to be like a construction worker. You need to understand how to put pieces together, how to find the right pieces, how to connect the interfaces, how to connect the blocks together so that they constitute a bigger block, a larger block. You need different skills. You need to know how to communicate with other programmers. Long list of skills. But mathematics, in my opinion, stays somewhere in the middle, maybe even at the bottom. It was not like that 30 years ago. It was not like that maybe even 20 years ago. But now we don't care about mathematics that much. It's all the mathematical problems are solved in programming, the majority of them. The majority of the problems are solved. We just get a library and it gives you the proper result. And now we have Chat GPT. Now we even ask Chat GPT and they solve us the mathematical problems. We just ask, okay, we need to implement that particular algorithm. So give me the code. They give you the code. So these algorithmic problems, algorithmic or mathematical problems, they're gone. We are not in the 1990s anymore. Next question. What do you think about Scrum? Do you know some companies that use Scrum and create a successful world-known product? No, I don't like Scrum and I don't like Agile at all. I think it's a big mistake. It's a big mistake, the interpretation of Agile principles, which we have right now. Again, go to my blog and type Agile. You will see my blog about where I criticize how people understand Agile. And the understanding of Agile right now is that it's a chaos where people do whatever they want, and we just solve all the problems through communication, through talking, basically, not even communication, through meetings, through talking, through conversations. And that, in my opinion, is very perfect model for teams who are paid on a monthly basis and who are not responsible for anything. So basically, Agile was invented by programmers. So if you look at the team who invented Agile, if you look at this, how many, 12 people or 10 people, how many people were there? So all of these people, they are programmers. They're not businessmen. They are not investors who pay money to developers. They are developers. They are people who want to get money and do nothing. I mean, not them personally, but they represent developers. And developers in general are the lazy people who want to work as little as possible, who blame the customer for everything, who are lazy about understanding the requirements, who lazy about formulating the requirements. They're just very proud of being programmers, especially when Agile was invented. That was like 30 years ago. So when at the time of Agile, programmers, they were really the elite group of people. So they created this philosophy, I believe, in order to defend all programmers against money people. So we have now a formula. A formula says, don't touch us. We are untouchable. We do whatever we want. You will never understand us. We don't write any documentation. We don't explain to you how we work. You do not measure our productivity. You don't evaluate our performance. We are untouchable. That's the philosophy of Agile, how I think it was understood. And I think that was part of the message as well. So if you read the Agile, you can understand it differently. So if you read Agile manifesto, you can understand it differently. You can take a different meaning from there. But the majority of people who who use it, and I think the people who wrote it, they understand in this way that this is indulgence. I don't know, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's like a permission for being lazy, for being unproductive, for being unorganized, for being undisciplined, for being chaotic. So all of that, this is the permission. Just call yourself agile expert, call yourself Scrum. We're doing Scrum, so that's it. No plans because of that. We're doing Scrum. That's why no responsibility. The team is responsible. That's what they tell me on the agile conferences where I speak there. They just keep telling me, always the agile philosophers, agile adepts, they just say in agile, the team is responsible. It's a team responsibility, meaning nobody's responsible. Meaning when the product fails, when we miss the deadline, you ask, why didn't it happen? We say, everybody's responsible. So you can't fire anybody. You can't find the bad guy. You can't find the lazy person. It's impossible because everybody is responsible. So don't touch us. We all protect ourselves. We protect us against the people with the money. So I feel it's disgusting, to be honest. I don't like it. I am in favor of the management which puts things under control, which disciplines people, which identifies who is lazy and then fires them. That's what I think makes the team stronger. Identification of flaws, identifications of losses, identifications of defects. When you properly identify defects, when you have instruments for that, you can listen my course, which I'm teaching to one university right now on the YouTube channel. It's called Project Management Beyond Agile. There I try to explain to the students that the management is always about taking control of things. So we do not let the team do whatever they want and then just let them tell us that they are all responsible for. No. We identify who is doing what, and we blame them for failures, and we celebrate their success. So we as managers, we need to have the ability, we need to have the power to blame and celebrate. If you can individually, personally, not as a group, but personally, if you can't do it as a manager, then you're, in my opinion, you're a good manager. If you can't, then you're an agile manager or Scrum master or whatever. So Scrum is, you know how they say it in Russian, still Scrum. Next question. Is 1976 the year of your birth number on the cap? Yes, you guessed it right. Next one. You're saying that, actually, I bought this cap in China. I just entered the shop. That was just half a year ago, and I entered the shop, and that's a Chinese company, very popular in China, Urban Revivo, and they are everywhere. They just make clothes for everybody, and the clothes is not extremely, but not expensive, definitely not expensive, and at the same time, it's of very high quality, very good design. So I was really happy to see that there's companies that exist in China anymore, because I was living in Russia all the time, and I understood Chinese clothing company as something of a very low quality. But now it's a different story. Now there are companies in China there are brands which make really good products, and not just good in quality, but actually they make good design. They present it right. So this hat, they had just one hat with just one number. So all the hats, they had the same number. So I decided, hey, why not? I'm gonna buy it. So they didn't have the hat with 1977, for example, just one number. I don't know what it means for them. Maybe that was the year when the company was founded. Anyway, that's an interesting story about Chinese clothing. So they are definitely growing. Maybe eventually they will be better than Italian clothes and German, Italian, French. Next question. It would be nice to discuss life in Europe, Netherlands, Germany, for developers from Eastern Europe, in part Russia. We have quite low cost life. The cost in Europe quite high to rent. Well, I lived in Europe for, I think, 7 years or something, and I do remember I lived in Amsterdam for 2.5 years. So I do remember the quality of life there, even though it was maybe 7 years ago. So I haven't lived there. I've been to Europe like last year, but I haven't lived there for long since then. And I think I said it in the previous, I think a few sessions before, I said it, that I think that Europe is going down on the level of many qualities of life. The quality of life in general is going down in Europe by how it looks, by how much people make, but how much people can afford, by how much, by how the cities, the streets look like. So everything is just worse than it is now in Russia. We're not talking about the whole Russia. Definitely, if you look on the entire country, if you move to some very far territory, which is far away from Moscow, far away from St. Petersburg, far away from large cities, then yes, the quality there is not as good as in Europe. In Netherlands, I'm not actually. If you go to Spain, for example, if you go to Italy, and in Italy you go to some territory which is far away from Milano, for example, then you will see uh, also quite not so pleasant the image which you can see. Like look at the watch the Gomorrah movie, for example. So they also not live their very good life. But in Netherlands, it's one of the, I think, the best country in Europe. Netherlands, they have the most beautiful, the most clean uh, surroundings, the most clean buildings, streets, everything. That's my. I've been in many countries in Europe. uh, so they are good even not in large cities. So if you travel from Amsterdam to some another small, very small village, you're still going to see there people who live in, so everything will look very beautiful. But that's Amsterdam, that's sorry, the Netherlands. But I think the whole situation in Europe is just going down. If you compare, I've been to Europe, I don't know, 30 years ago, and I've been to Europe 20 years ago, and I've been to Europe 10 years ago, and I've been last year. And the same I can say about Ukraine, for example. I was born in Ukraine, I lived in Ukraine, and then I moved away from Ukraine. But I've seen Ukraine 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and the same for Russia and Moscow. So I can see the dynamics, what's going on. So Russia is definitely moving up. Europe is definitely moving down. Ukraine, well, the last years is definitely going down, but before it was also it was definitely moving uh, until the in 2014 or something. It was moving up. So this dynamic of the world is definitely that. What is going to happen in the future? What I think, what's my prediction? I think that Europe will be in trouble. Europe will be in larger crisis quite soon in the next years, and it will be and most people who care about the quality of their life, they will start moving to safer territories, for territories with high quality of security, high quality of service, high quality of, I don't know, taxi driving, of streets cleaning, of the control of crime, and they will move to Russia, for example. That definitely will be. At least I did that. I mean, I moved outside. I moved away from Russia because I didn't like it. Like I moved away. That was 15 years ago, and maybe longer. It was 17 years ago. So the Russia at that time was terrible. I didn't like it. That's why I decided to move to Europe, and I did. But then I moved back because the situation changed. So that's my answer. So for the IT, for the developer, for programmer, my suggestion is to definitely live where you get the highest quality of the service of life. So you enjoy life using your money. So you make some money. So you make this money in order to enjoy life, in order to get fun. So the best fun, the highest quality fun, you not right now you get in Russia. If something changes, I'll let you know. You will see it. Then we move somewhere else. But now Moscow is the best city. Next question, philosophical question. What makes programmers work in complex, interesting project instead of doing almost nothing and making money? Is it desire to be famous, to be better than others? What do you think? Oh, that's an interesting question. What makes us stay in interesting project instead of making money? Um, well, I think it depends on the person. For every person, is a different story. But I think in general, about the it's about your ambition, about how big you want to become, how big is the problem you want to solve, how big is your expectation of yourself for life. So if your expectation is being a person who can afford certain things, then you will work for money. But in most cases you will be uh, not in most cases, I'm not right here. So most people are like that. So for most people, this is the expectation: just comfortable life. Just give me the comfortable life, and I'm ready to sacrifice. I'm ready not even to forget about ambition, but I will not even have them. I'm not even forgetting about them. I just didn't even have them in the first place. So that's why I'm just working for money, and I feel comfortable. I mean, like, I can pay for my food, I can pay for the apartment, and that's enough. But some people are more ambitious. So I think these tactics, this strategy of staying in an interesting project, and in the same time trying not to think about money as much, is for people with who in the beginning had very high ambition, who wanted to do, something big in their life, who expect much from themselves, who expect themselves to be, who want to be proud of themselves. Some people can sleep well if they understand that they don't do anything meaningful, that they just waste their time. The time just flies away, and if you see that you're not doing anything interesting, you're not doing anything valuable, potentially valuable. Maybe right now nobody needs that, but potentially it will become something huge. And if you don't do that, then you don't feel comfortable. And these people, they exist. So if you are one of those people, then probably you will be fine with making less money. But that's a difficult story. It's a difficult question always to sacrifice your money ambitions and your ambitions in the professional area. Like, for example, you may work on something interesting, on some, I don't know, new programming language, like what I'm doing. So you may work on a new programming language because you believe that this is how you will change the world and whatever. Or you can just go to a crypto startup and make way more money doing some garbage, basically stealing money from people, just making some IPO crypto scam and just getting money from poor investors and just robbing them, basically making way more. You will make like way more money than doing some that just making a programming language. It's a question. It's difficult. It's tough to say no to big money, even specifically when you know how to do it, when you have the skills to actually do that, to have the skills to use your you have the skills which you can use in order to become way more successful financially. But at the same time, you will be nobody professionally. You will be just rich person who made nothing. For nobody will care about that. Nobody will remember you. Nobody will write books about you. I don't know, that kind of uh, comparison, I would say. um, that's a question, I'm also asking myself quite often. So it's difficult. Yeah, there's an explanation. What is DSA? Data structures and algorithms. Thanks. Now I know. What do I think about low code platforms? Low code platforms. I don't think it's the. First of all, I don't know what it is. I know that there's a name, low code platforms, and when you just attach pieces together, there's a rectangle. You just put them together, and it magically starts working. I kind of feel skeptical about that. I think that our direction is different. I think that we're still going to be programmers who just write code, but AI, GPT, or whatever, they will just help us to do it. But just moving pieces on the screen, I personally don't feel it like something interesting. But that's maybe me. Maybe I don't understand what it is. Next question. You continue working in Huawei. How active is your company hiring people in Russia? Well, I do work in Huawei. That's not a secret. About hiring people, that's a story. That's a question which you better ask the company, because I cannot speak on behalf of the company. I just know that I am looking for programmers. So in my particular department, in my particular group, we're looking for Java programmers. So if you are a Java programmer, if you are interested in high quality code, we're not looking for Spring developers. If you are a Spring developer professional, Spring framework, we're not going to consider you. But if you are interested in proper Java development, then come to us. I'll interview you. We'll think. We do interesting stuff. My group, my personal group, very small, very focused on one particular goal. Next question. Is it vital to contribute to open source projects for junior middle developers? Yeah, 100%. That's how you grow. I said it a million times. Go to my blog, search for open source, you'll find it there. That's how you grow. Contribute to open source. Write open source projects. Make open source libraries. Show the code you write to people. Share your code. This is the recipe for success. In my opinion, that's my story. That's how I got all my projects. That's how I got the job. That's how I got everything. through open source. That's how I started understanding Java. That's how I started understanding other programming languages, through open source. I feel so sad that I didn't join earlier. I feel so sad that we didn't have open source when I was a student. Well, we did have, but I ignored that completely. I didn't know what it is. We didn't know how to share code. There was no GitHub. There was no internet at that time. So I lost a lot of time. Now, if you're a student, don't lose this time. Don't be shy about your code. Put it online. Put it on GitHub. Try to promote it. See what people think about it. Next question. Why this stream is in English? What's the idea? I explained in the beginning, so to help you guys to learn English and to attract more English-speaking people to the channel. Next question. Over the past 6 months, I have noticed more and more people who want to go to the office when they can work remotely. They say that this is due to the fact that they completely lose physical activity and they begin to have health problems. What do you think about this? Well, that's a shame that people are so undisciplined that they need to go to the office in order to do exercise, to work on their bodies. I am in general against office work. I believe that offices is something that we should remove from the face of the earth. That offices is something that we inherited from the 200 years ago. They invented offices, or maybe 300 years ago. They invented the idea of putting people together so they work together, because they started to manufacture things. They started to create factories. They started to create large plants where people produce certain things like clothes, like food, like machineries, all that stuff. That was necessary at that time. Now we are in the area of IT. We produce software, not hardware, but software. So people who produce software, they don't need to sit together with other people who produce software. It's nonsense, in my opinion. We have all the instruments to work remotely. So we sit together because the management which we have was also inherited from the times when people were close to slavery. So they were sort of slaves. They were coming to these factories. They were getting small amounts of money. They were living very poor life. And that was the only way to manage them, is to beat them, is to force them is to make them work. Now we have, and then we inherited this. We inherited this management paradigm, and we use it right now. So the large companies, Google, Twitter, this Elon Musk says, come to the office, get back to the office. If you're not sitting in the office, you're not working. That's completely wrong idea. If you're not sitting in the office, you're not working. I would say if you are sitting in the office, you're not working. That's my philosophy. If you are sitting in the office, if you came to the office, if you sit there in front of your computer, I have very high suspicion that you're not working. But if you're remote and you deliver results and I can measure your results, then it's way easier for me to judge what are you doing and understand in my world because I can put the objective criteria on your work. You will never be able to tell me that I was, busy doing, helping, going around the office, participating in the meetings. I would say, no, I don't care about this. I expect you to deliver this, and that, and I'm going to pay you for these particular deliverables. That's it. So it's way easier for me to manage people who work remotely, because in the office, they can always find excuses why they're not delivering, because there are so many things, other things which I was doing, and I cannot stop doing them. Even if you tell them, don't do that. Don't listen to people who come to you asking for help. Just focus on your work. It's not going to work. They will always find excuses. They will always tell you that they're doing something else. Very few people can really concentrate in the office, can really be providers of deliverables while they are in the office. So in my opinion, offices is something we inherited from 200 years ago, from the times of slavery. I can put it this way. Next question. What do I think about the potential development of the languages like OneScript or OneC, one S, 1S, that's the Russian brand. What's the future? Or it will be replaced by other languages. I have to say that I'm not an expert there, but I believe that these languages, which are DSL, I would say they're domain-specific languages, they will be the future languages, definitely. So in general, the trend is to get away from system programming languages and move to DSLs, move to the languages which are specific for the problem domain. Because the world of system programming is kind of closing its doors anymore. sooner and sooner. So we don't need so much system software anymore. We already solved those problems. We already have very stable operating systems. We already have very stable basic software, which is needed in order to organize development, DevOps development, a lot of things. So all of those problems are solved already. So now the question is how we can invent new languages and invent new instruments which will solve the problems of the business domain better than Java, for example. So Java is not really a good language for accounting software. Java is not really good language for gaming. It's not really good language for writing logistics applications or medical applications or embedded applications. It's good for writing system software. It's not even good for writing web applications. You know, this Spring framework, it's just like a separate language right now. So Spring framework, it's based on Java DSL. It's a language which stays on top of Java. It's not anymore Java. So if you take an average Spring programmer and ask this guy the questions about Java, most of these questions he will not be able or she will not be able to answer because they don't know Java anymore, the Spring programmers. They know how to put annotations on the classes. That's what they know. So they deal with different paradigms, which is, of course, inherited from Java. They're coming from Java, but that's a DSL. So the future is about DSL. So if you learn some kind of a language like OneScript, I hear about it for the first time in my life. What is OneScript? I don't know. So if you learn this OneScript, then probably you will be on demand. So you will be well demanded by the market. Next question. I missed a bunch of questions after the question about the cap. Sorry about that. Let me scroll back. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. So the question, you're saying that projects is always a time-boxed activity, but we all know that how it's going. Requirements come endlessly, new budget every year. Like how you're going to work for Facebook, for example. Well, there are different things. Like the project is definitely a time-boxed activity. It's not me saying, it's PMBOK saying, project management body of knowledge. So they say that the project, if you call it a project, it's something that has a start and has an end. So you started, you have certain requirements, you have certain budget, you complete it, you deliver. That's the project. When you work for Facebook or any other company or a product which is on the market for a long time, you are supposed to maintain it. You're supposed to make changes every day. That's not a project, that's a maintenance activity. You're not working on a project, you're working on the product. You contribute to the development or maintenance of a product. But in this product, you can, or you should, I would say you should always try to separate certain scope and call it a project. So you go to your boss and you say, how about we take this particular piece of work and we complete it in 3 months and deliver it and show that this is the deliverables, show that the quality was this, and show how much time we spent. So you separate it, you make it time boxed. In this case, I think you will improve the management, you will improve your visibility because everybody will see that you actually made some project. So you made some particular contribution that you didn't spend just 3 months sitting in the office and making the changes, which everybody is making. No, but you made a specific contribution. You made a project. So this is what PMBOK actually recommends. So try to break down your continuous activity, continuous development into pieces and deliver them piece by piece, deliver them project by project. That's how you make yourself visible and more effective. Next question. What kind of books do you enjoy writing more? Fictional or programming ones? Could you tell more about publishing your own books? You must be self-publishing with Amazon. Yes, indeed. I publish with Amazon. It's very easy. Well, it was before these military conflicts throughout the world. You just go to Amazon, you register an account, you make a PDF, you write the book, you format it, you make a PDF, you upload the PDF to this. They call it Kindle Direct Publishing right now, KDP. So you upload there, you upload the cover of the book, and they just check it. They have the automated software. They check it, and then I think some human being is checking for the content of the book, so you don't write bad things about American president, I guess. So they assemble it together and they put it on sale and they sell it and they send you money to your American bank account. So you have to have an American bank account, as far as I know, in order to collect the money from Amazon. and that's it. And then you promote it yourself, because Amazon will not promote it. Well, it will try to promote it in the beginning. They will put it on the list of new books, and then if people like it, they will start upvoting it, and it may go up. Like my books, it happened to my books a few times, so I was staying on the top in the beginning, and then Amazon removed me back to the list. So now I'm staying somewhere in the first 100 or something, but it's not the top. So that's it. It's very easy. And to answer your question, what kind of books I enjoy writing more? Well, fiction is difficult for me. Non-fiction is way better. I mean, technical books are way easier because fiction takes more time. So fiction, I need to. I'm not probably a writer. I'm more like a technical guy. So, but I'm trying to. I'm trying to develop that skill. I'm trying to write movie scripts right now, and it adds a super hard work for me. It's super difficult, but I will try to improve that skill of mine because it's fun. Next one, how do you see future of the front end? Will these be needed? In my opinion, again, very subjective, I believe the front end must die. It's not dying because I was saying that 20 years ago that it must die. So we need to have just HTML and CSS, and that's it. No JavaScript, no mobile applications even. So it's better to just have JavaScript. That's just HTML and a very powerful server, very powerful backend. And on the front end, we have just HTML and CSS and text, and that's it. And even not even HTML, but maybe XSL, which formats the XML. So we take XML, format it with XSL, and then apply the CSS, and then we get the content. This is how all my websites are actually designed. So if you go to my blog and then go to click the link called Pets, then there in the Pets you will see some pets websites, and all of them are designed this way. So I don't use JavaScript almost never. Almost never I use JavaScript, and because of the existence of JavaScript, I believe that the standards like HTML are not actively being developed towards more active more active presentation of data. So most programmers just rely on the power of JavaScript, which is killing us, I think, in design wise. So I am in favor of very light, very thin clients, which is just rendering the page, and then you click the button and boom, it's the next page, but you never stay on the same page. So I'm against this Ajax, which this is how it was called 15 years 20 years ago, AJAX, whereas for the JavaScript plus HTML. Next one, what do you think about Scala and its ecosystem? I think it's dead because of Java 8 or something. So Scala was invented, in my opinion, as a functional language on top of Java. But Java is functional language right now. So Scala is bye-bye. And it was obvious, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Next one, what do you recommend to become better developer? Just write code. That's it. Just code. And like I said, use static analyzers. Use the power of these tools which tell you that you are a bad developer. Listen to them. Fix yourself. And that's how you learn. Next one, please tell about most 5 things to find job as QA engineer in Europe. I mean about LinkedIn and GitHub. How to find job in Europe? Well, I think in Europe the whole market is under control of recruiters, as far as I remember. So you don't find jobs directly like we do it in Russia. You go to recruiter, you make friends with these recruiters, you find 3, 5, 4 guys, you talk to them, you explain who you are, you give them your CV, and then you sit home and wait. And they do the job for you. They charge the company for placing you, and that's disgusting in my opinion. I don't like that. That's crazy. And the same happens with the apartment rental. So you cannot rent an apartment directly in Europe. You need to go to rental this agent who will charge you like half of your monthly rent or something. So you pay them, or maybe even full monthly rent, and only this is the only way to find an apartment. In Russia, it's not the case. In Russia, we have a website where these people who try to rent out their apartments, they just post an apartment there. So we have way more freedom in Russia in this sense. In Europe, it's very, very conservative market, which is very against people, in my opinion. So you go always through agents, which are just they're just middlemen who charge us doing nothing. So they give zero value to us. They They just I have a blog post about it. Let me be short. Try to Google for mayonnaise, the mayonnaise, which is the food which you put into sandwich, and that's how I call these agents. I don't like. There was a funny story actually. I had a friend. Well, I have a friend. I had a friend who is the recruiter, who is the agent between these programmers and the. And when I published this article about the mayonnaise, where I called these recruiters these, I, I called names there, and then I said that they are just don't doing anything valuable. They just making trouble for the market because the market is not developing because of them. Like look at the Russian market of the real estate. It is developing way faster because we have these websites which are being promoted, which are being active, which we use. And on these websites, we just freely post our ads, and then we say we sell the apartment or we rent the apartment, and we can directly communicate. But in Amsterdam, for example, the whole market is blocked by these agents who are in charge of this market, and they do not allow the market to develop freely because because a lot of money from the market goes to these people who are not producing anything. They're not writing software. They're not making food. They're not making clothes. They're not making anything. They're just people who we need to give food to. Our money, our food goes to these people. I strongly disagree with this setup, social setup. But what can we do? Next question: will this stream be saved? Yes, it's recorded. Okay, we discussed that. Next one. How do you get so fluently English? I just talk to you guys. That's that's how I learn English. Well, I lived in America for some time, and I lived in Europe, so that kind of helped improve my language. But the practice, that's how we do it. And I recommended this on my, again, on YouTube. I have a video where I have, that's one of the most actively viewed videos on my channel, where I recommend how to learn English. And just search my channel for the word learning English or something like that. English, say English there. And I say there that one of the most effective ways to learn the language is by watching movies with the subtitles. So just watch the movies, English movies, American movies, which you like, and always watch it in the original language, in English language. You will see how people talk. You will understand. You will feel the language. You will get into the language. You will not understand. You will not learn the English from the books. You will learn English from the real people, and you will like it. You will love it. You will love certain phrases that they say. You will repeat after them. That's how you learn the foreign language. Now I'm learning Chinese, and I'm eventually, I hope, one day, I will start speaking Chinese. And that's how I trying to learn Chinese, just listening to how people talk and watching the movies in Chinese, which is very hard in the beginning, of course. Next question. What do you think about the future of Unity game engine? You asked me before. I don't know what it is. Well, I know the name, but I have no. I actually don't like the gaming industry in general. I think it's quite close to drugs. It's quite close to alcohol. I think it's antisocial. I think that gaming, well, gambling, of course, but gaming is something that ruins the society. It's something that kills young people. So if I would be the president of the country, I would make it not illegal, but I would charge a lot more money from these people, and I would make it 18 plus. I would make it only for adults, only for people who are above 18, but definitely not for kids. I would not give games to kids because I think it destroys their brain. That's just wrong. It's a long story, but that's just wrong. So that's why I don't like the companies who develop games. That's why I don't pay so much attention to how it's organized there. So this gaming is not for me. Next question. Thanks for office hours. I'm team lead for 2 juniors and 2 seniors. How can I elevate skill of my juniors when developing serious projects? Only seniors can build adequate solution for it. You have seniors, you have juniors. How you can improve those juniors? Well, I would say mentoring, teaching, helping, but it's not going to help. It's not going to work because I would just pay no attention that they are juniors. I would treat them as seniors. I would treat everybody equally. I would give equal tasks to everybody, and I would judge by the results. I would judge who delivers what. And in my experience, in my years of experience, the junior developers are quite effective. They may be quite effective if they pay attention, if they try, if they do the effort, if they invest into their education by themselves, if they try harder. So by dividing them on juniors and seniors, you are only stopping them from the growth, from their growth. You stop them, you block them. So they're always going to feel that they are being treated differently. They're being patronized. They're being you care about them differently. I don't do that. I have students, for example. I teach in two universities right now, and I have students who come to me, and I work with them, and I treat them like I would treat a person my age, with my education, with my background. I pay zero attention to that they are students. And some people blame me for that. Some people who know about this attitude to students and which kind of tasks I give them, they tell me you're doing it wrong. They're bachelor students. They're just 19 years old. They don't understand anything about anything. They're just kids. And I still do the same. I don't want to treat them as people with no skills. I just give them the tasks I would give to myself. And if they survive, and some of them survive, that's interesting. So some of them, maybe 20% of them, 80%, yes, they don't survive. I mean, they cannot deliver. But I see that this is because they're lazy, not because they're stupid, because they are lazy. I published my first academic paper when I was 22 or something. So I also was a student, and I know many people who do the same. They're being students, master students, even bachelor students. They publish academic papers. I had a few students who actually, together with me, I helped them, of course, but still, they published pretty large and professional academic papers. So there are students who can, and I believe that most of them can. All of them can, I put it this way, but not all of them want. And those who don't want, I give them no what's the right word? I give them no sorry, I forgot the word. So I don't allow myself to treat them differently. So no sympathy, let's put it this way. So that's the word. No sympathy for laziness. If you're lazy, you're going to be punished. And if you cannot do something, if you're stupid, but I don't see these people. I don't see students who are stupid. I see students who are lazy. And that I don't, uh, no sympathy for that. So that's it. So you want your juniors to grow? Stop calling them juniors. How to enforce the entire team to improve as developers, to go from junior to senior. They've been doing low quality code for quite a while because of time constraints, and it's affecting everyone. How to enforce the entire team to improve as developers? Um, Pay them more, give them more money, but not just more money, not increase their salaries, but pay them for the results they deliver. If they deliver faster, give them more money. That's recipe number one. If this doesn't work, for example, you promise them money, you say, okay, we need this product to be delivered by the end of the month. If you do that, each of you will gonna get another $1,000 bonus by the end of the month. You see the end of the month, the product is not delivered. Then it means that you have a bigger problem. So you have people who are incompetent. So they just physically cannot do that. They maybe want to do that, but well, first, of course, first suspicion is that they don't care about $1,000. So give them $5,000, and if you give them more money, like really decent amount of money, and they still cannot deliver, they cannot produce what they promised, then you have an incompetent team. Then you just change the team, I believe. How to improve them? It's not your job, I think. You have schools for that. You have books for that. You have YouTube courses for that. They can do that if they want the money. So I am all about uh, in internal motivation of people. I am strongly against about pushing people somewhere, about enforcing them, about making them do something. You give them the carrot, and they should move to this carrot. If they don't move, you just fire them. That's it. So you don't try to help. You don't try to encourage. You don't try to mentor. It's all. But this is how you uh, degrade them in their internal respect. You kind of you show them that you don't treat them as equal people, as adults. So you patronize them. Don't do that. Just make sure the motivation is strong, and make sure that if they don't achieve, the punishment is strong. Two things: the carrot and the stick. That's super old and super effective method. You give them a proper carrot and you give them a proper stick, so they don't know what's going to happen if they don't deliver, and they know what's going to happen if they do deliver. And that's it. That's you. This way, you very soon will filter out the people who cannot deliver, and you will stay with the people who are super effective. That's exactly what you're looking for. Now the next question. We have probably a few, and then we should stop. Could you give some pieces of advice how to beat procrastination periods, how to stay motivated for months during learning paths? Uh, yeah, it's a good question. I also have these troubles when you kind of you do something. It looks like you do something. You tell yourself that you are working, that you make something important, but it's nothing. So you do something which is not actually moving you towards the goal, but it keeps you busy. Um, in this case, I try to tell myself that. Well, I kind of try to trust myself, trust my internal judgment. So if this happens, it usually, that's my experience talking, it usually means that the goal is not the one I need, is not the one I'm looking for. So if my brain is trying to give me other tasks, it's trying to keep me busy with something else, then it means that this is my direction, this is my path. So I need to, at least for now, I need to forget about the goal and move in a little bit different direction. That's okay. So the laziness, I don't forgive the laziness in myself. So if I just lazy and if I don't do anything, then it's unforgivable. But if I work, if I contribute, if I write code, if I write, I don't know, books, articles, code, something, if I produce something, but I understand that the goal was in a different direction. So I was supposed to work on this particular article, for example, but I do something else. I write a blog post because I feel that this is important to deliver to people. So I have a thought and I wanted to deliver. So instead of in the morning waking up and writing that paper, which I need, no, I'm going to write this blog post. And then I open some open source library of myself, which was not released for 5 years. And I open it up and I say, hey, I want to upgrade it, release the new version and promote it on some forum or whatever. Then maybe this is my direction for now. Maybe my body is telling me that make a detour a little bit, spend the next week doing something else. It's okay, because kind of try to trust yourself, trust your body. So procrastination is, I think this idea was invented by people who do not believe in their own internal judgment. So they treat themselves as working machines who are supposed to move into one direction, but we're not. We're actually here to have fun in this world, not to achieve the goals which somebody defines for us, or even we define for ourselves. We're for fun, and to get this fun, we may sometimes make detours, and this is exactly how I wrote my first book, for example, The Elegant Objects. That's exactly the story of the book. So I was working on the project. I was busy. I was in California at that time. I was busy. I had a specific work to do, but I got lazy a little bit. I just said to myself, come on, I don't like this project anymore, even though I need to do it, but I need something to relax. So I said to myself, it's Sunday morning. So how about I write the book? Why not? I didn't do it before. Let's try to do it. So I just opened the laptop. I remember that coffee shop that was in Palo Alto, in California, in Silicon Valley. So I just started writing, and then I continue writing, and the next day, and the next day, and the Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I stopped doing the project. Forget the project. Who cares about the project? I was writing the book because it was fun for me. That was a detour. That was a procrastination, right? So the experts in self motivation and self growth would tell me, no, that's wrong. You should stay focused. You should. No, it's not true. My body told me you need to relax now, and this is the way to relax. Write the book. Not, of course, watch the TV for the whole week. Maybe this is not that's not procrastination. That's laziness. But making detours, that's good. Okay, that's a good finish line. Somebody says, hello, just wanted to say respect. Respect to you too. Thanks for coming, guys. I have to stop this streaming. See you next time. Come to me next Friday, the same time. Every Friday, we'll try to have these sessions, which is fun for me to answer you about your procrastination. What does it give me? Does it give me any money? No. Does it give me fun? Yes. I like it. So I'm doing it. And that by giving fun to my body, I think my body will pay me with a stronger focus on the things which I need to do, which is about business, about money, about the results, and all of that. So sometimes we need to give some fun to the body so that the the body and the brain will pay back with a big thank you, which means Monday morning I sit down and I work on something very important, but maybe less fun than this conversation with you. That's it. Thanks for coming. See you next time. Bye bye.